For me, I experienced homelessness when I was 23 years old. I know it looks like that was last year, but it was actually quite a long time ago. I just turned 30 yesterday, and 30 is crazy. It's a great age. It's funny, like I think one of the big things when it comes to homelessness that I kind of always sort of struggled to speak to is because I guess we all kind of have our own idea of it. Like if you haven't experienced it firsthand, your experience is just what you would see, and what you see may not be relatable to you. It may not. For me, mine was completely circumstantial, and for me, it was a small breakdown in my family, and a breakdown in my ability to provide for myself, and it was in such a small way, in a very quick way, that I always speak to how easy it can actually happen to a lot of people. And it's really funny because I've sort of avoided, I'm going to be completely honest, being back in places that have made me think about it again. It wasn't actually until tonight and listening to a lot of the speakers that was the first time, pretty much since I was 23, that I've thought about how they all sort of made me feel. And it's not necessarily in all sad ways. There were definitely some funny parts about it. Basically, I lived out of my car for quite a while, and heaps of crack-up stories in that. I once woke up one morning, the cops were knocking on my window, and that was when I learned that you're not allowed to actually sleep outside the flash houses in Mission Bay. That's where I used to park up. People would ask where I lived, I'd be like, oh, Mission Bay. Just in front of the beach. This guy was like, oh, really? I live out there too. What street are you on? And I was like, oh, it's just the car park. He's like, oh, I haven't heard of that one. Yeah, we just built, man. Gentrifying it. That's right. Gentrifying Mission Bay. Who would have thought it could happen? But it was funny. So yeah, they moved me on, told me that you're actually not allowed to sleep in an area like that. So what I actually did was I went and bought a high-vis vest from the warehouse, so that when they woke me up, I just said that I was waiting for work, waiting for work to start. And then they woke me up another morning, and then they were like, oh, I told them, oh, just waiting to start work. And they were like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I just work on the roads, bro. And then the cop was like, oh, what road? I hadn't actually thought that far ahead. So I was like, oh, just all of them, cuz just whichever ones need working. I've been very, very lucky over the course of my career since to have found my way out of my circumstances through my work. Stand-up comedy really allowed me to find and build a life that I'm really proud of, and it's still unbelievable to this day that I'm able to live. But the assimilation thing is real, because it's one of those things where if you've never been taught how to do something, whether or not you learn how to be able to do it, you kind of just continue to be in shock that you're able to do it. And I'm talking about something as simple as knowing how to sleep in a house comfortably. This sounds so silly, but to this day, the only place I can fall asleep is in my car. So if I'm really struggling for sleep, I'll go sleep in my car at my house. It's very weird. And it's just little things like that kind of stick with you forever. What you then start to realize is it plays into all these sort of parts in your life that you realized you were never really taught how to do. You were never really taught how to be comfortable with where you are. You almost feel more comfortable in chaos than you do in comfort. And I guess the point that I'm trying to make within that is, I think the impact that you have in your everyday life, yes, there's huge ways like what you've done tonight, but there's even small ways. There's even small ways and things that you may take for granted, not even in just that you have in your life, but in your understanding of how to live it, and the things that you've learned all through your life, that just passing on can change someone's life forever. So I grew up in quite a brown household. So what that means is 13 people live there minimum. That's the rule. And basically all your stuff gets given away for no reason. Islanders, we love doing that. And I had a mum who basically, our house was the center for everybody that needed it. So we just had people constantly going in and out of our house that needed help. And so my brothers and I always came through with the understanding of okay, we don't ever ask for anything, because there's always going to be somebody that needs something more than we do. And it's a beautiful way to live. But then how do you learn how to ask for something when you have absolutely nothing? Which, through my circumstances, my family were always supportive. They were always loving of me. But when I fell out and needed help, a very small thing like asking for help was something that, because I was never taught how to do or learned how to do, I wasn't able to do, even when my circumstances were as dire as they were. And it's probably hard for you to like fathom how somebody can't do something that probably comes so simple to you, but it's always a very big amount of those little things that kind of just group up and then put yourself in the circumstances that you end up in. I think we often get desensitized to a lot of these stories and these things that we hear because we think it's all these massive things. And then we kind of put it on ourselves like, oh, that massive thing could never happen to me. I'll be fine. Not to turn this political, but I even think of, a lot of the talk of people on the benefit and a lot of the people that are really struggling without their jobs. 1 in 10 people in Wellington lost their jobs last year. And these were everyday people with everyday lives, everyday jobs, people that probably don't live a very different life from yourself. People that were working in the government that woke up one day and realized that they don't have anything, supporting all the people in their lives that need it, including themselves. I guess the story that I hope, or I guess the thing that I want you to walk away with this from is that because we also are so close to it, not only to recognize that for yourself, but also recognize that in others. And, if you see somebody, struggling in ways that you probably don't understand, you never know, because they could be at your job. They could be hanging out with you wherever you go. The only difference is that you get to walk back to your home and they're walking back to their car.